Oh, come on. You knew this video was coming.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and I'm still getting used to having a mic in my face. I don't like this. I like having something on my desk that I can put out of frame, but those mics decided to stop working with my setup. So now we have this one that's just on an arm. But today we are talking about the Scammerton Detroit Bridgerton Ball experience that happened a little bit ago. I did wait to make this video because I wanted to see if more news would come out. The organizers have not spoken out, it seems, at the time we were recording this, aside from a very terse, like, we are sorry it wasn't up to expectations for everyone type of thing. The lone violin player has spoken out, the pole dancer has spoken out, I believe some of the vendors even have spoken out as well. But really quick, let me tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Squarespace. Maybe you're watching this video and you're thinking, I should start an event website for my events. Maybe I should do that. Squarespace is the perfect place to get started. Squarespace just launched Design Intelligence that can help you unlock your strongest creative potential with your site. You can set up payments with Squarespace Payments, connect all of your social media and multimedia accounts, and now it's super easy to sell access to your content on websites like online courses, blogs, videos, etc. Go to squarespace.com to get started with a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/swellentertainment to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I've not watched any other creators' videos on this, okay? Mainly because I don't want it to influence even unintentionally anything I would say. But I still want to talk about this even though a lot of people have talked about it. It's been talked about constantly because, one, I'm the event chick. This is what I've done to myself. Also, I went to one of the actual Bridgerton experience balls, the Queen's Ball, that they did in LA in 2022 for season 2 of Bridgerton. And that was an official Netflix Bridgerton event. And I think that that is what the Detroit Bridgerton themed ball was trying to copy in a sense and try and profit from. Now, again, though we have seen the actual ball and how it all happened and things like that, to protect myself legally, I will be using this phrase alleged and things like that. And as it appears, things like that, okay? It's just to cover my own ass. Also, as I've said, I usually don't like talking about events that I wasn't at, but because I went to the Bridgerton Ball and because all of you have been tagging me in this, and also because I covered the Glasgow experience, even though I wasn't there and talked about that, you guys have been tagging me in things and they're like, Amanda, they did the Bridgerton version of the Glasgow experience, which I don't think this is the same exact thing. Because we can't just call everything that uses false advertising as the Glasgow experience. I think the Glasgow experience had a very clear-cut use of using AI images specifically to sell a fantasy that they were never going to be able to achieve. And I think that that AI element is what it takes to really classify something as they did the Glasgow experience. So in this instance, I think this is just a case mainly of people wanting to profit off of an event by essentially making allegedly a cheater event, okay, or like a cheater brand, trying to make the potential attendees think that they were going to a actual Bridgerton experience or going to get something on par with that. I've seen a couple of people tag me in videos like, a Swell went to the actual one and it looked really cool. This is nothing like that, things like that. Why you would ever want to go to bat with Netflix? I do think maybe they thought it would be fine because I don't know if I covered this a while ago, but if you guys don't remember, there was the Bridgerton musical that was made by two artists here on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. There were two artists that made the Bridgerton musical, and Bridgerton was fine with that. I believe they won a Grammy for that, in particular, like the Grammy-winning Bridgerton musical, okay? But Netflix let them do that, okay, because they weren't profiting from it ever, until they decided to do a live performance where they sold tickets to the live performance. And I believe that was a charity event, but it doesn't matter. Once you start involving money in that thing, then you start getting into like trademark violations and things like that. And that is where I believe it was Shondaland, Netflix, etc., and the people that own the Bridgerton brand in general. I think Julia Quinn was named in that as well. Now that ended up being dismissed, but that whole thing, especially in relation to Bridgerton, I don't know why you would even take the risk of putting on a Bridgerton themed event where you openly say the phrase Bridgerton themed. And then I have now finally, because when I initially made my TikTok being like, hey, I don't think this is related to the Glasgow experience, it sounds like this is a cheater event, allegedly, still. I said, I haven't seen the marketing, and the marketing I think is a big deal. I believe the entire thing is now gone. The entire event is now taken down, obviously, because once you start doing, getting into things like allegedly ripping people off and things like that, the first thing you do is scrub everything. And that's why I tell you to screenshot as a business person why you would ever even consider possibly doing that. And without licensing, I think you're asking for trouble, especially if you're not stipulating that it's a fan event. Another fan event I recently covered is the MGS Con, Metal Gear Solid Con. They don't even call it Metal Gear Solid Con in anything. It's like memes, like guns and snakes or something like that. Like they literally make it so that the MGS Con is like, doesn't actually say Metal Gear Solid Con, even though it's a Metal Gear fan event convention. You know, like there are things that they change the name of. I started getting tagged in these videos as it was happening, as people were posting from there, but it really ramped up the next morning. Basically, I did not know there was originally supposed to be a postponed date. We'll talk about that in a second, because that in and of itself, I would have been like, we need some more red flags going up for some people, okay? Because I do think that postponements, rarely is it a good sign. I'm going to be totally frank with you. Unless they specifically say, oh, we underestimated how many of you are going to like this, we need a bigger venue. Until they do that, I don't trust it. I don't trust a postponement. But first, people were sharing videos of everyone dressed incredibly, okay? I think that's the thing about Bridgerton fans. People yearn for costume parties. People yearn, okay, for a ball. They yearn for a pretty dressed experience. I love dressing nice. I love any opportunity to put on a pretty gown, okay? So I totally get it. I almost wore the dress that I wore to my Bridgerton ball experience, but it is a vintage dress and I didn't want to sit in it and film this whole time. This one, I think, is the issue here as well, is they added in food. Typically where things fall apart is food, because you never have enough. Rarely is there enough food, okay? You would rather have too much food than not enough, but then because a lot of people are trying to use events as like a get-rich-quick scheme, which why? Most events don't make money. Or at least not the money that you think they are. Or it takes them years to make money. That's why you start small and go big. But no, they're like, let's go big and then make as much money as possible on ticket sales. But then they have a subpar performance in everything else. And it's like, of course, that was never going to work. Of course, you were going to end up being sued and the like. Okay, but whatever. Okay. But the food, there was not enough food for everyone. Apparently dinner was supposed to be included in various tickets. That being said, it sounds like they did not scan tickets ever. It doesn't sound like even they maybe looked at the tickets at check-in based on what some attendees have been reporting. So there were some people who were dressed very nice and they're like, I don't think the people sitting around me had tickets because like they're not dressed to theme whatsoever. So there is also an instance where there's a possibility that people went to eat that did not have tickets to the event, and that probably also contributed to things going down. But if any of the planners or anyone comes out and says, actually, we had enough food, but people came in without tickets and they stole our food, then the question needs to follow up then be, why is your security so lax that people were able to wander in without tickets? So still, you would be at fault. That is how that would work. And then even then, in some instances, it was like chicken, mac and cheese, some greens, and some potatoes and cornbread. So like decent hearty plates, okay, but they were very small chicken legs. And in some instances, it looks like the food was raw or undercooked. And again, there just wasn't enough to go around for the people that paid for the event. The actual theme of the ball itself, there was very little. This you can make Glasgow comparisons to, I would say, because the actual like space is too large, but also you need this amount of space for the amount of people that you sold tickets to, but then you don't add any form of decor, any form of ambiance, nothing. They literally just seem to have the house lights on, which is crazy. To just have the house lights on for a Bridgerton ball experience or any form of like event in general that is not a conference for like dentists, like why is the overhead light on? Get a lighting crew in there, get some fun mood lighting, get some tapestries. Like this is doing a ball in this style, and even then, you never should have called it Bridgerton Themed Ball. Like, I'm literally looking at your website, Bridgerton Themed Ball. We'll talk about the website in a second, okay? Because the Wayback Machine is wonderful. What they should have done, instead of calling it the Bridgerton Themed Event, what they should have done the entire time is just said Regency Themed Ball or Regency Ball. People would make the implication that it was a Bridgerton Ball on their own. You didn't need to risk yourself possibly being sued in a trademark violation lawsuit, because themed is not going to protect you in this way. You're using the Bridgerton name, the Bridgerton brand, essentially to advertise your event. That will get you into trouble. But the event was very sparse. Like I said, no lighting, no special things. There was things that were literally just like the backdrops for like the photo opportunities were literally just seemingly from Party City. There was like a grass one or a hedge one to make you feel like you're in like the maze, okay? According to some people, they did have an actress playing the queen, okay, who looked beautiful. But apparently some people said that when they would go up to get a photo with her, she would say, "What up, though?"
It was terrible. It was terrible. First and foremost, let's talk about pricing. First and foremost, $150 bare minimum per person. The picture with the queen. I don't even want to get into the queen right now. She's a cool girl, cool lady, but she didn't give it for me. The first thing she said was, "What up, though?" Like, I get it, we Detroit, but theme. Let's stick on theme. Let's stick on theme. She's like, "Y'all all look good. Yada, yada. Theme, babes. Where's Queen Charlotte? Who are you?"
Really sorry. That's really funny. This whole thing, I feel bad because people got ripped off. And at the end of the day, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but like, if I'm ever just blatantly scammed for something, the first thing I do is contact my bank. Send them an email. Do not call. Do not comment on social media. That's not enough. You need to find an email or anything for the Uncle and Me LLC to send them an email. If the website is gone at this time, aside from the Wayback Machine, what you can do as well, again, is then go to your bank and say, they have dissolved the company. I have no reasonable way of requesting a refund. Then you should be able to get a refund via your bank, okay? And they will investigate on their own, and they will probably do a chargeback or something like that, okay? You do have the right to do that. Just keep that in mind. Apparently, there was advertised of a string quartet, or that was what was implicated, was that there was going to be like a full like performance and dances and things like that, that there would be the ability to do dances, okay, which is what, again, I think a lot of this came down to they were really trying to bank on attendees thinking they were going to get the Queen's Ball experience, okay, and that was never going to happen. So even then, why would you do that? Because you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You were never going to be able to sell that. You were never going to be able to maintain that. You were never going to be able to deliver that with what you did. So I don't know why you would even think that this was a smart move and that it wouldn't end with mass complaints, the news knocking at some of the organizers' doors, okay? Like if there's not a lawsuit, I'm going to be genuinely shocked. In a lot of these instances, it's 17 and up. Most of these people are adults. It's not like with TanaCon, okay? TanaCon, there was never a class action lawsuit or anything like that because a lot of the people that did go were underage. Also at the event, aside from the Queen, and then it looks like there was an MC or two on the stage. And even the stage didn't seem like they didn't set anything up for the stage. Like at the very least, do the stage. Like get something special for the stage for the event. There was also a violin player who has spoken out, a lone violin player who was the only one that was hired to play for 4 hours. Okay, she has made a TikTok. I'll put those videos here so she can discuss it. She does mention she is in high school, and I believe that she has not been paid yet.
But if anyone wants to know, I was the violinist that was playing at the Bridgerton Ball. I would just like to say thank you to everyone that has been trying to tip me and stuff since I had not gotten paid. It's really sweet of you guys, except it shouldn't be your guys' jobs to pay for me. It should be the company's. But yeah, it is really sweet of you guys, and I hope you guys are able to get your money back. But yeah. So I had worked with Uncle and Me before. I performed at the Tea Party, and I'm completely independent. I literally just filled out a random application online. Please prepare, and I needed to find a ton of songs in advance, and it takes time to prep for that and clear my schedule as well because, you know, I'm in high school, you know, I had a lot of things going on, but I still decided to do this well because I thought it'd be a fun experience as well. I'd still not gotten any sort of food. I did get a water bottle, however, but I'm not getting food, so I was just starting the whole time, but thankfully I got my dinner afterwards, but yeah. It was around, I wrapped up around 10:30, but I hadn't left until like 10:40 because I couldn't find the organizer, so I couldn't tell them that I was gonna leave, so I had to call them, and I was like asking them when the payment was, and she told me to talk to Chelsea. I ended up talking to Chelsea yesterday, and I texted her and I was like, hey, when's the payment gonna come through? And she was like, oh, I'll pay Wednesday. So, but I was supposed to get money on Sunday, so I don't know why she's paying me on Wednesday instead of Sunday, but I can't really do much. So.
I hate it. Okay, there was also their dancer, their only dancer, from what I can tell, was a dancer who everyone deemed was a lone pole dancer in her underwear. Now, she has spoken out for the cunt, and she said that she was hired 3 hours before the show went on, before the event, that she brought a variety of outfits, including a Great Gatsby themed outfit, and told them the different styles of dance that she could do, and that they chose the pole dancing, and that they chose the outfit that she ended up wearing. And she did try and interact with the different Regency attendees, like the actual different attendees, and that she just avoided people that gave her dirty looks, which valid, fair. Which I get also being like, I don't know, once, like, if we're here, I'm throwing ones, but I'm an asshole, so. I think the thing as well, it's like, because comparing it even just to the Bridgerton Ball experience that I went to, there was dancing, there was like a reception area. I don't think there was ever actually food. There was an early tea thing for mine. I did not do, but there was multiple different photo options. They had gowns and outfits from the show itself on display. They had a little shop where they were selling like the different makeup collabs that they had started doing with Sephora and other companies. I think Natasha Denona was one of them. I can't remember. Or Charlotte Tilbury. I can't remember. And then they brought us into a different reception room where it was like the Queen's waiting area where people could go and greet themselves to the Queen or could get photos and things like that. And there was also a lady whistle down sheet where you could literally go and find and answer clues to hopefully win, I think, a little prize. I got like 2 of the clues and then I was like, I realized that if I'm not on my phone and I'm not doing things, the dancers and the actors are interacting with me more. So I decided to focus on that because I was trying to be the diamond of the season. A pirate man was chosen instead of me, but that's okay, because he really twirled. He had fun. I actually ended up get to be a part of the actual Bridgerton experience because after that they do a little dance where they like got a bunch of us involved in the dance and they were like, okay, just follow our lead and do a little dance in front of the Queen, and then they let us into the main ballroom where the actual show is, where they do a basic like interpretive dance play of the episodes of season 2. Then there was also a part of that where the man playing Anthony came up to me and said, okay, can I have this dance or whatever? And not can I have this dance, but he asked me to dance and sorry, that sounds so stupid. I'm explaining this weird. This is 2 years ago, okay, but I have the photos. I did this. There are things happening. It is a whole show more than it is just a ball, okay? And so I think that was also the element that they seem to fundamentally misunderstand here, is that there is a show happening, not just go dance, go be in Bridgerton. I did see one vendor on TikTok who shared that she had made specialty Bridgerton themed candles for the event and a lot had not sold, so she was going to be putting them on her website. I will have that link down below. I will find the website that she is selling them on, or at least link her TikTok so you can find it yourself if you would like. I assume what may have possibly happened is they decided, let's do an event like this, base it around Bridgerton so that people maybe think, allegedly, that this is associated with the actual Bridgerton experience and that it's just come to Detroit. I believe mine was $55 when I went to the Bridgerton experience in 2022. I think what they did is let's try and profit off of the Bridgerton theme of it all, okay? And then let's keep costs just as low as possible so we can profit as much as possible, which, yes, in theory, great. But it's one thing to not want to be in the red for your event. Totally get it. Valid. Okay. But you should not go in thinking that it's going to be a profit deal. Events are incredibly expensive. You cannot go through thinking that your first time event is going to be as profitable as an event that has been running for 10 plus years and knows the business inside and out and their attendee base and things like that. Like it's not going to happen. Okay. You also cannot expect that your event is going to be as profitable as something put on by Netflix. Okay. That's just not realistic, especially because when you are banking off of something allegedly potentially being associated with an actual established trademark and IP, as in Bridgerton, you run the risk of lawsuits. I don't know why you thought this would allegedly be a good idea. Allegedly, possibly, perhaps, perchance, whatever. I don't know why anyone thought this would be a good idea. Okay, this is okay. I'm not judging the attendees or anything like that in this regard. I am literally just judging the organizers and all of that. One guy, okay, who apparently is a promoter, okay, allegedly, made a video, big Gucci.1 on TikTok, and he put my experience 2024 Bridgerton Ball recap, and he shot it in landscape mode, changed the lighting, it looks like, added a filter, shot it from various angles and edited it really well. So it looks like a very packed, very well attended, very well set up event. It still does not fit the Bridgerton theme. In fact, I don't even think he ever shows the pole dancer. It does not look like, but like focused on like people coming up in limos, coming up in their horse-drawn carriages and such, focusing on how stunning everyone looks, which valid. But then people in the comment sections of this, it's like they either don't realize that he is associated with the event in some capacity, allegedly. He said, oh, the food was just not bad. The food wasn't good, but it was just disorganized. It was not a scam. And it sounds like he may have been associated with the event itself. This one girl, Lydia's 18, said when they left the stripper pole unattended at the Detroit Bridgerton Ball, and she started having a little dance herself with the pole, which, you know what? Fun. My only thing, it's like, even in this regard, if the pole, I believe the pole was the dancer's pole, that's the only thing where I would say, hey, maybe don't touch that. But also, why was she able to go and touch that? Why did they leave it unattended? Why was it not on the stage? Why was it on just the ballroom floor space when you have a stage? Why did, I can't identify, aside from the people on the stage, like, people putting on this event, like people running the event. The Bridgerton Ball experience, yes, had people in costume that were the actors involved in the event, but they also had people in standard clothes that were organizing the event so that I could safely identify someone who, if I needed help and things like that. Like overall, just looking for employees of this event, in all of the clips I have seen, I see zero, okay? Or at least I can safely identify zero, which just for an event is a red flag. Now, really quick, talking about the postponement, let me go back to the postponement. In a statement to WXYZ TV, Uncle and Me LLC said, "We understand that not everyone had the experience they hoped for at our most recent event on Sunday night at the Harmony Club, and for that, we sincerely apologize. Our intention was to provide a magical evening, but we recognize the organizational challenges affected the enjoyment of some guests. We take full responsibility and accountability for these shortcomings." The company said it was working to address all concerns raised by guests, adding, "We are reviewing resolution options, which will be communicated shortly, but they have taken things down." Their Instagram is still up. At the time of me looking at this right now, I believe their comments are off. Yeah, comments are off. It looks like they partnered with a event planner. I think this might be it. Chelsea Beard, I believe, I think this is Chelsea, and she's put on videos of her Bridgerton themed ball. Her comments also off. This is from 2 weeks ago. So originally this was supposed to be at Castle Hall in Detroit, Sunday, August 25th. And it shows a very different venue, Castle Hall. And it looks stunning. It's a very beautiful, it's a very castle-like. They've done a lot of weddings on their Instagram that looks stunning. And so I can understand why people were like, oh, if this is what I'm getting, this is great. So there was an official event website as well. Let's do that. Wayback Machine, DetroitBridgertonBall.com. Go, let's see. It was crawled by the way back, not how many times the site. Okay, Detroit Bridgerton Themed Ball. Here's the official website. Regency Era Dance. Step into the enchanting world of the Regency Era at the Detroit Bridgerton Themed Ball. Join us for an evening of sophistication, grace, and historical charm. Experience a night like no other, filled with music, dance, and exquisite costumes. That's all that is there here, it looks like. So let me see. Detroit Bridgerton Themed Ball, Eventbrite. Is this it? Yeah, Sunday, September 22nd. So this is literally exactly a week ago. Get ready to step back into time in the Regency era at the Detroit Bridgerton Themed Ball, a night of elegance, romance, and grandeur by UM Event Management Company. I believe that is Uncle and Me Event Management Company. Uncle and Me Management. This is a snapshot of their website from August 26th, Bridgerton Themed Ball, Sunday 22nd. So this is the actual rescheduled date. There was a different date. It was originally supposed to be in August, and they actually ended up postponing it earlier in August. We'll talk about the postponement and things like that in general in a second. But I wanted to make it abundantly clear that this is not the same location that was in the initial time slot. Come enjoy our Bridgerton themed ball with prizes, giveaways, and more. You'll also get the chance to win the diamond of the season. Suitors in attendance will have the chance to win 2,000 cash prize for best dress. So just men? Oh, here's the ticket breakdown though. Let's go. Okay, this is what I like to see. Viscount or Viscountess, $119 here. Lady or Lord, $150. Duke and Duchess, $250. The Royal Court, $550. And then there's all service fees attached to these as well. The Royal Family, $1,000. I'm assuming this is more than one person for the Royal Family. A group thing like that titled the Royal Family, the assumption would be that it would be multiple people associated with it. Carriage wide, $20, which does seem like it did happen. There were quite a few people that appeared to arrive in carriage or go on carriage. The Uncle and Me story for the Bridgerton event. Uncle and Me was founded by uncle and niece team Jeremy Scott and Chelsea Beard, who initially partnered together to learn about the business, or we have a typo, with two separate successful small businesses and their small businesses. The team wanted to develop a platform for other small businesses to learn and become successful with real life, real-time learning and networking opportunities. So they created the seasonal branded pop-up shop events. So it seems like they mainly do pop-up events for shopping, and that's what they have known been doing. I think this is the first type of event they did here in this regard. Originally, the Detroit Ball was set for August 25th, but was rescheduled due to issues after arose with the venue, according to the event management company. The party was ultimately hosted at the historic Harmony Club. So issues with the venue, that's code for they didn't pay, allegedly, typically, what I've found. I usually don't trust when an event completely reschedules and changes venue, because usually what that means is that the original venue saw red flags that they did not want to be associated with. Whether that's something as simple as someone being like, hey, you have the licensing rights for this, right? Like you were given permission to use the trademark and things like that. Like that's allowed, right? Or something like, hey, you guys we don't think you've sold enough tickets for like how much it costs for this venue. Like, can we get a chunk of the payment up front? Or they've just decided, hey, you haven't done a venue of the scale at this yet. We would like for you to pay up front, things like that. And then typically that's usually where things fall apart with an initial venue and then moving to a completely separate venue. Now there have been instances where it's like, oh, we have to reschedule from this date to this date because of whatever reason. And that date, that venue no longer has anything going on. I don't know, it could be that. But to reschedule for literally a whole month later is not a good sign. And then to completely change the venue in that regard. Like a week or so later at the same venue, I think you could be fine. Different venue that is larger because there's more tickets to be sold, totally fine. That being said, you should always have a venue. I've talked about this before. You should always have a venue before you start selling tickets so you know your capacity limits and things like that. You never want to oversell capacity. If you, like, let's say you really want to expand to a bigger venue, then you have a wait list and you realize the wait list is just so big. It's like, wait a minute, there's a lot of attention and a lot of want for this event. We really should expand and do something bigger. And even then, be realistic with yourself on whether or not you can actually, I have the word, but I usually think it's a red flag when something is postponed and then changed drastically like this. Do I think something like this will happen again? Yes. As long as there keeps being successful events and also events that do go well for things like this. Like there's a whole booming industry now of fantasy balls, and quite a few of them have tried to profit off of the balls of book talk and that book talk loves from fantasy books like ACOTAR and things like that. And typically I hear complaints, they come to me via people complaining because there's things where it's like, oh, well, why did they do this and not this and things like that. I think it's better when you just do like I think it's Mystic Fate. They do one that I think I have not heard anything bad about, but they do like, oh, it's just a fantasy ball. We're not going after one specific series and things like that. They encourage people to cosplay and dress up as the characters that they want to be in and things like that. That's a little bit more reasonable, but they also plan their events drastically far apart so they can plan accordingly. The Bridgerton experience, the Detroit Bridgerton Ball, things like that. I think this shows that there really is a need and a want for like a Regency themed ball, and then just let the attendees imply Bridgerton. Ladies want balls, okay? We want balls, okay? Ballroom experiences, not, you know what I mean. Regency themed balls that aren't actually Bridgerton. Or maybe Netflix is like, oh wow, we really need to do some more Bridgerton themed ball. I think the Bridgerton experience is done right now. I know they did DC, they did New York, I believe, and they did LA. I think that was it. I had fun. I would go back. I had a good time. There's a couple of balls I know that they're trying to do like fantasy balls here in LA as well. Not Netflix or anything like that, but other companies. It's really going to be it. I don't really have a full wrap up for this other than, be aware of red flags of rescheduling. Be aware if something is not associated with a known IP, but also is using an IP to advertise. Pay your violinist and your dancer and all of that. For event planners, if you are going to try and profit off of a known IP, at least try and get close enough. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's it. Have you been to a Bridgerton experience? Have you been to a Regency themed ball that you just added Bridgerton to? Have you been to a ball? Do you want to throw a ball? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members. If you would also like to become a channel member, you can go ahead and click down below. If you'd like to follow me on social media, that'll be all up here. And that's me. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. Oh my God, I forgot there's a mic here. I love this thing and I hate it because this, I feel like for emphasis, I can go like this versus picking my mic off the desk. But also I'm trying to get used to just having a thing here.